it just me, or does it seem like Jesus Christ is on his way? Is it just me, or could it be that it could happen any day?
Am I the only one who believes we're on the brink of eternity?
Is the church about to leave, or is it just me?
We are in Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9, and of the study so far that we've done in the book of the Revelation, this is probably the hardest chapter to preach, not because it's hard to understand, it's just hard. Because there's a change in what's happening on this earth. The plan up until now is we've gone through the seals, opening the seals. It's the Antichrist coming to power. It's the beginning of what's probably going to be World War III. By the time you get to the sixth seal, we have nuclear war. The people of the earth who've stockpiled these weapons, and God allows us to use them on ourselves, and a quarter of the population is gone. About 2 billion people is gone. Then from the seals, we go into the trumpets. And with a trumpet judgment, a third of the land mass, all the food, vegetation is wiped out. A third of the seas are wiped out. No commerce, no fishing. The sea is turned to blood. A star called Wormwood falls and destroys about a third of the drinking water. And it's possible Wormwood might be an angel. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go. But so far, everything's been targeted about removing natural resources, and people along with it, certainly. But it's been targeted at natural resources. And in chapter 9, the focus turns from judgment that falls upon the earth and removing things from the earth that are necessary for life to actual persecution of people. And as I said, we'll get to that in just a moment. But when you think about how God has removed the focus of so many other things that are going on in the world today. You know, there was a huge hurricane that hit Florida, and I didn't see a lot about it on the news feeds and stuff that I use. It was out there, but mostly what I got was more political stuff and just more of the same. We're focused on whatever it is that we're presented to focus on, as opposed to what really is important. And so God is trying to take away all the distractions and everything else and focus the people on what's really important. And we'll see by the end of chapter 9 how man resists what God counts as important. So we start in verse 1 of chapter 9. It says, "The fifth angel sounded," this is the fifth trumpet, "and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them." It talks about a star falling from heaven to earth, but the star, it says, to him and he, it's not a star per se, but an angel. An angel sent from heaven to open the bottomless pit. Whether this is a good angel or a bad angel, I don't know. Usually we think of fallen angels. And it does say that I saw a star fall from heaven to earth. Don't know, but I do know that there was someone, something, an angel, given a key to a place that's referred to here as the bottomless pit. Now, 2 Peter 2:4 tells us, "If God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to pits of darkness, reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but preserved Noah, a preacher of righteousness, with 7 others, when he brought a flood upon the world of the ungodly." We're taught in the time of Noah that those angels that were cast out of heaven were put in a place, in a pit. And they were put in that pit for a reason and a purpose. Luke chapter 8 in verse 30, when Jesus confronts the demoniac, and Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him, and they were imploring him not to commend them to go away into the abyss. Same idea, the pit, the abyss. Luke chapter 16 and verse 19, there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at the gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed of the crumbs, or with the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angel into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. And beside all this, between us and you there's a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. And so here we have this idea of a place under the earth, somewhere in the earth, a place of torment, of suffering, a place of being put away, the idea of hell. I remember Mr. Trump getting in trouble one time because they were talking about a senator that had passed away. Mr. Trump was speaking, and as he does, he speaks plainly. And Mr. Trump said, yeah, they said he's up there looking down on us. I don't know, maybe he's below us looking up. And you're insinuating he's in hell. Well, he said he's below us looking up. How do you know that's hell? Well, because the Bible teaches that hell is below us. We know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the bottom of our oceans. And we know more about the bottom of our oceans than we know about the center of the earth. There are models that scientists have put together using a variety of scientific methods, but we really don't know. Nobody's been there. Watching Neil Tyson, deGrasse, whatever, he said if there was a hole all the way through the earth and someone were to jump on the hole on one side, he would accelerate all the way through the earth, but after he passed the center of the earth, he would decelerate and he would just spend forever going back and forth. It would just be pulling him back and forth the whole time, always falling, always falling. I don't know how that all fits in. I do know we're told hell is a place of darkness, a place of torment. It's an eternal place. I know this, that anybody that has ever seen lava and put their hand in it has not been happy. It is a horrible thing, what comes up from this ground. I know that there are people every now and again. There was one lady that was to one of the hot springs, like Old Faithful. And this is how we are, that there are walkways and signs, do not get off the walkway. It's dangerous. You'll hurt yourself. Stay on the walkways. And yet every year someone gets off the walkway and decides, I'm going to put my hand down in the water because it's so beautiful, but it's extremely hot. And there was one woman, and it's not just hot, it's full of chemicals. There was one woman that her boyfriend went over to get a selfie over next to the spring and fell in. And by the time she got a ranger back over there was his hat left and his boot, and that was it. He was gone. He was not only burnt, but he was melted, and it's not an immediate process. It's ongoing. Some of you may know who Ed Sheeran is. Ed Sheeran's a singer. And Ed went to one of these places, I think it was in Hawaii, and he got off the path, and his foot broke through into the boiling water, and he started screaming. He was in agony, and his friends went and tried to grab him, and they said, whatever you do, don't take your boot off. So he took his boot off, and with the stocking came the skin of his foot. And he's had operations and been taken care of, but still not a great experience. And so we know that something really hot and really bad comes out of the center of the earth. That's what we know. Well, here the idea is that's a place, an actual place, and we're told that there was a time when men, both good and evil, went there after they died, but it's a place specifically set aside for the devil and demons. That's what it's set aside for. We also know that Jesus, when he died and went and sprinkled his blood on the mercy seat, it says he went and preached to the captives, and the Old Testament saints were taken out of there to heaven. But those who are not believers, in the Old Testament, New Testament, whatever you want to call it, in that system, they're still there waiting. And so this star comes from heaven and is given the key to the pit. And notice also that he is given the key. He's given the key by God, because God is locked up in that pit until such time as he is ready, what we're about to read about and understand. He releases demons that have been put aside for one purpose: to torment men for 5 months. They are given the ability to produce great suffering, but not death. And when John sees them, he says he sees locusts. So what he sees is things approximately the size of locusts. We don't have them up here. When I was in Florida, I saw grasshoppers that are that long and that big around. I saw them. They're big critters. They're actually pretty cool, because you look at them and they're big enough that you can see how wonderfully made they are. They're very complicated. If you were to build a model of a locust, it would take a lot of pieces and parts and a lot of time to do. But they're about that size. That's what he sees. He says they look like locusts because of the way they come out and the way that they move. And with the opening of the pit, we have smoke coming up, obscuring the heavens. Does that ever happen on this earth? Is there ever a hole in the ground that smoke comes out of? What do we call those? Volcanoes, right. Volcanoes. It's stuff deep below the earth that comes up. And so there's an opening. And fortunately, volcanoes are only in a couple places, right? No, they're all over the earth. The middle of the United States is sitting on top of a supervolcano. And it's just the way it is. They're everywhere, but people take them for granted because you have to. Because if you don't, you're going to live in constant fear of the volcano exploding. And what happens? They're still excavating Pompeii. They're still finding stuff in Pompeii from the volcanic eruption that wiped out the city. And so this pit is open. Smoke comes up. These demons are released. And unlike other locusts, they're told, don't touch vegetation, but your target is people. And locusts normally rampage through an area, wiping out all the vegetation. These are given one target, and that's men. Men without the seal that God has put on the 144,000 and whoever they have led to salvation. Apparently, these are particularly malicious demons, as they've not been allowed out of captivity from time immemorial. We've never seen anything like them. Why? Because God put them away for a reason and a purpose and a time. And they've been waiting. Now you think about someone in prison that knows one day they're going to get out. One day they're going to be released. And they're going to have the opportunity to find the person that put them there. And what are they going to do to that person? Here these demons have been waiting from creation for their opportunity. And so opening the pit releases the smoke and blots out the sun like a volcanic eruption. And remember that the natural disaster activity is at an unprecedented high, and the world is full of dormant volcanoes. All of this is happening. It says that men will seek death, but for the first time in thousands of years, death takes a holiday. If there are still newspapers in publication, there will be empty obituary pages for 5 months. Nobody's going to die. They're going to want to die, and I don't know how that all works, but I understand this. These demons, these locusts, are going to track people down and sting them, and either one sting is going to cause agony for 5 months, or they're going to continue to sting for 5 months. In either case, man is to be tormented for 5 months. Now, if man doesn't read the Bible, and particularly the 9th chapter of the book of the Revelation, when is it going to end? How do they know? How did we know at the beginning of COVID how long it was going to last? At the beginning of COVID, they told us what? 6 weeks, whatever it was. And it went on for a couple of years, and people still getting COVID today. Here, folks are going to be afflicted for 5 months, and the people that are stung are going to be in absolute agony and misery. To the point where they're going to think, I'm going to go down, I'm going to get the gun out of the safe, and I'm going to blow my brains out and end this, and they're not going to be able to. Either they're going to be incapacitated, or they're going to try it. It's not going to work. I don't know, but I just know this. People are going to want to die, and they won't be able to. I've been with folks that are suffering. I've been with folks, Art Cotton, after his stroke. He said, I don't know why the Lord didn't just take me home. He wasn't going through physical pain, but he was going through the pain of not being able to remember stuff that was important. And mid-sentence, missing words and phrases and context. He just, because of the stroke that he'd had, he said, why didn't the Lord take me home? Some of us, as we get older, we say, I don't know why the Lord leaves me here. I'm ready to go home, looking forward to it. But we're not suffering. This is talking about people that are suffering. There was a time when we didn't have morphine. When someone that was dying of cancer had to take the pain. There are other things we might be able to do for them. But somewhere along the line, we learned that if someone is suffering badly, we can let them administer their own morphine. Because a dose that would kill a normal person will only take away the pain for them because of what they're going through. Now let that sink in for a moment. A dose of morphine that would make me high and then kill me, stop my heart, another person would take just to stop or at least take the edge off the suffering. In this case, remember, we've lost commerce, we've lost resources, we've lost organization in the world. There's a world war going on, and rationing is going on, and inflation is in place. So where's someone going to get something like that, even if it would even work? They just have to take the pain for 5 months. I'm not sure how it's all going to work, but people will be prevented from killing themselves, and then suddenly it's going to stop. But before that, let's take a look at the locusts. In verse 7, for years people have speculated that this is some kind of military equipment or whatnot, but listen to the description that we're given in verse 7. The shape of the locusts was like unto horses prepared unto battle. That is, a bug, it's probably 6 inches long, something like that, is wearing armor or is built like it's armored, which a lot of bugs are, but in this case, it looks like a horse prepared unto battle. On their heads were as like crown, or as it were, crowns like unto gold. I could see a bug with that kind of a head shape. But then it says their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women. Now, if they've got faces of men, what does it mean when it says they have hair like women? What's the difference between the hair on a man and a woman? Woman's hair is long, right? That's what it is. They've got long hair. So years ago they said, they're hippies. But they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron. In other words, you can't just swat them. You can't just smack them. And some of those bugs, some of those big grasshoppers are pretty tough. Okay, it would take a bit to kill them. I've picked them up, and you feel them. They're powerful. They're strong for their size. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And that sounds like a group of locusts traveling together in a cloud. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men for 5 months. So they're dressed out like war horses, with crowns, men's faces, women's hair, lions' teeth, iron breastplates, and beating wings. But worst of all is the stinging tails. These are no ordinary scorpions. There's another transition from God allowing nature to be destroyed to targeting people. Remember, the sixth seal, which wipes out a quarter of the Earth's population, 2 billion in today's numbers, is a result of man's own determination to wipe himself out. But scorpions will torment men, but not kill them. Even here, God is merciful, however. I want you to see this. They're allowed 5 months as a preview of the suffering waiting for them in hell. And at any time, they can cry out to God for salvation, because the 144,000 evangelists are still doing their work. They're still doing their work. And verse 11 says they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon. Abaddon means destruction. Apollyon means destroyer. So they are organized. It's not just a flight of locusts going from garden to garden or field to field or plant to plant. There's an organization to it. There are people out there that think somehow that the devil is their friend, and they're going to go to heaven, or they're going to go to hell and party with their friends for all eternity. And man, we're going to have a great time when we get together. And you know, the devil, he likes the things I do, and I like him. The devil and the demons hate people. They hate humanity. When they turned against God, they turned against him knowing full well who he was, and knowing full well his righteousness, and knowing full well his justice. Man, on the other hand, when man turned against God, God made a way for us to reconcile through Jesus Christ. there is no reconciliation for the demons. They hate us. General Sherman, during the Civil War, was known and is still hated by the people of the South today. Because where he went, he took the Union troops and they fed themselves and took what they needed, and then they burnt everything else. They left nothing behind so that the Southerners might come in behind them and be able to eat or drink or whatever. It was a spoiling action that he made. He went in and made sure that they had enough for themselves, but the others, his opponents, had no resources to use. And that's what the devil is. He's a spoiler. He doesn't care whether people worship him or not. He just cares that people don't know God. Or don't know God in a way that they think of God as just this benevolent old man and everybody goes to heaven. When we talk about the rich man and Lazarus, our Jewish friends believe that when people die, we all go to the same place. And for a time that was true. But they believe that the people that have been good and righteous, they go to a place of enjoyment, and the people that weren't good and righteous, they don't enjoy quite as much. In fact, the rabbis tell a story that everybody has to, in hell, there's plenty to eat. But in hell, that is that part of where everybody goes when they die. Okay? We would differentiate it a lot more than they would. But they say in the place where people go that aren't righteous, didn't follow after God, follow after His teaching, there's plenty to eat, but nobody has any elbows. Nobody has any elbows, so they can't feed themselves. There's plenty of food everywhere, but they can't, there's no long forks or spoons or anything. And then they say, well, in heaven, you'll find the other side, the same thing. Nobody's got any elbows. But the difference is, in hell, everybody looks at all the feast in front of them, all the food and all the things that they can enjoy, and they're sad, and they're disappointed, and they're hungry, and they're upset. But in heaven, they all feed each other. See, that's the difference. We feed each other. That's their mindset. That's the concept that they have. But the fact of the matter is, there's a much greater gulf today. There's no passing from one to the other. Nobody can go and show the other folks how to feed each other. It's a choice that we make today that affects all of eternity. And here, once the church is taken out and God begins His program first against this. The first part of the program is letting man have his own way with the Antichrist being elected to power. And the wars and everything else, it's all directly, God's allowing it to happen, but it's all traced back to man. And then God starts to send natural disasters. And now God is sending those to punish the people that have rejected Him. Abaddon and Apollyon both mean the destroyer or destruction. Is this the star that was given the key to open the bottomless pit? Is that Abaddon or Apollyon? I don't know. But in any case, there's organization to the implementation of the suffering. I've got a lot more to go. I won't do today for the sake of time, but I will share this with you to put things in perspective. How many Jews do we estimate were killed in the Holocaust? Anybody got a number for me? 6 to 7 million? Okay. How, in the space of a few years, do you organize getting rid of 6? How do you categorize that? How do you record that? How do you know for sure? Somewhere along the way, the Nazis approached international business machines, IBM. They said, we need a system. We've got people moving all over Europe, and we need to track them. We need a system we can depend on. We need a system that's easy to use. We need a system. And International Business Machines, IBM, came up with a very basic punch card system. Very basic. They didn't have computers back then, but every Jewish person that was taken and brought into a concentration camp, or they went into the cities and towns or whatever, every Jewish person had a punch card. And their life, as much as was important to the Nazis, was recorded on that punch card. And so that punch card followed them. From the time that they were taken from their community into the concentration camp, from the time they were moved from the population and working and whatever it was they did to the gas chambers, and some of them went immediately to the gas chambers, the older ones, the ones that couldn't work, from there to the ovens, and from there the ashes were burnt. It was all on a punch card. It was all recorded. It was all clinical. It was all simple. Someone, that's what they did for a living all day long, is just worked with the punch cards. Not realizing that every punch card represented a life that was to be taken, and taken in a way that was violent and callous and cruel. When you understand that the demons have organization as well, and we're going to get to next time after missions conference, we'll come back. The next trumpet, we have a 200 million strong army, a demonic army. And the transition is from punishing people to eliminating people. You realize that every person here, somewhere, you're on record somewhere. You're on a computer, you're on the internet, you're in the cloud. All of us are, whether we want to be or not. But that doesn't bother me, because God knows me better than the government knows me, better than the corporations know me. God knows me. He knows my name. He knows not only what's going on the outside, and there is research going on to try and figure out what people are thinking, and we want to be able to predict crime because we know what people are thinking and what they're doing, and we'll be able to watch them 24/7, and we'll have algorithms and AI that'll be able to figure out if they're going to commit a crime or not. Yet they'll never get to the point where God is. And here's the amazing thing I want to share with you today, and I'll close with this. Knowing me and knowing you as perfectly as God knows us, and knowing everything about us, He still chooses to love us and to show us that love in the most perfect way ever by sending Jesus, His only Son, to die for us, die for our sins, and to forgive us, not just in the moment, but for our whole lives, of every evil, wicked thing we've ever done or thought about. And some people, well, I'm not that evil or wicked. There's an experiment that they did years ago. They took a glass of water, okay, and they gave it to a toddler. And the toddler grabbed the glass and drank the glass. So then they put a live fly in it. The fly's buzzing around in there, and the kid just drank around the fly. Oh, no. Then the child gets a little older, and the child won't drink the water as long as the fly is swimming around in it, but if you pull the fly out, the child would drink the water. And then they get a little bit older, and once you take the fly out, they still won't drink it because they understand contamination, that there's been something in it. Now, you might have been a sinner in your life. There's something you might have done that you've been able to cast off, some habit or something you don't do anymore. The problem is, once the sin gets in, it stays. We're contaminated. We're not pure, and God's standard is purity. I read something by MacArthur the other day. MacArthur said, I am so ready to get out of this world because I'm so tired of living in the presence of sin. And I certainly feel that. To realize that Jesus has promised us that when God the Father looks down at us today, He does not see our sin. He sees Jesus Christ, His own Son, and His righteousness. And one day, not only will I be removed from the penalty of sin, I will be removed from the presence of sin. Now, I think that's going to happen before all this begins. I think I'm going to be taken out with the church if I don't die sooner. I think that's what's going to happen. But folks, there are friends and neighbors and people in our acquaintance that don't know that. And sometimes it's because they've chosen not to, and sometimes we haven't been faithful in sharing with them. I'm not saying beat people up. I'm just saying be friendly and share your faith. My buddy Tim Cotton posted a thing today, and he was talking about people coming to Maine for leaf peeping because it's starting to happen. The leaves are changing. And he said, when you come to Maine, don't be afraid of the people. We're just getting ready for winter. That's why we're grumpy. But if you get past the grumpiness, we're nice people. We really are that live up here. You just have to get past that grumpy, getting ready to shovel snow in 6 weeks, right? You just got to get past that. We as Christians need to make sure people around us don't think we're grumpy, but they see the love of the Lord and the joy of Jesus Christ in us. And as we read this, like I said, it's hard to preach because, man, this is God allowing. First, He allowed man to do his thing at the beginning of the tribulation. Now we're coming up on the midpoint, and now He begins to let the devil do his thing. And as we'll see when we get to the end of it, there are still people that aren't going to want what God has to offer. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. Father, I do thank You for the love You've shown to me, shown to the people in this congregation through Jesus Christ. And everybody here, whether they're a believer or not, You love them, You care about them, You died on the cross for them. And Lord, every person here has the equal opportunity to accept Jesus. And Lord, I'm so glad I did. Lord, I'm so glad for the difference it's made in my life. It hasn't been an easy life. There's been a lot of things that have happened, but my goodness, where would I be without You? Lord, I think of how I could destroy my own life, just like mankind destroys society and everything else. I could have destroyed my life, but you chose to preserve me, all through Jesus Christ. Lord, help us to leave this place and tell others. We're going to have missions conference. We're going to hear from people that have ministered around the globe. We're going to see where some monies that we're sending is being effective in helping others. But Lord, help us never to forget that we are missionaries here at home too, to share our faith with others around us. Thank you for your blessings and your love and your mercy. Pray you'd help us, Lord, to go out here and serve you as we go back into our communities. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Hello, this is Jeff Tenney, pastor of Faith Bible Church of O'Lemon. Thanks so much for worshiping with us today. We trust it was a blessing and that you might find encouragement for the coming week in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you're ever in the Greenbush area, we'd love to meet you in person. Our services start on Sunday mornings at 9:45 for Sunday school, 11 a.m. for the morning worship service, 6 p.m. for the evening service, and on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. we gather for Bible study and prayer. May God richly bless you and your family as you seek to serve Him wherever you are this week.
When I'm around, heaven is listening to my song.